Nashville Public Radio serves Middle Tennessee in many ways, every day, including through this podcast. You can support it by leaving a review or rating, by telling a friend about it, or by contributing at WPLN.org/give.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's October 22nd, 2025, and on this day in 1797, a man named André-Jacques Garnerin made the world's first ever parachute jump. It was an idea that had come to him while he was held prisoner during the French Revolution. I guess he was having really creative thoughts about how he might escape. But rather than leaping from a prison window with something like a reworked bed sheet to slow his fall, Garnerin made his historic jump with a carefully crafted parachute made of silk. The design was kind of like a hot air balloon. And it started with a hot air balloon flight. Basically, Garnerin stood in a basket that was attached to both the balloon and the parachute. After reaching an elevation of about 3,000 feet, he cut the ropes to the balloon and deployed the parachute. And immediately, the importance of vent holes in parachutes became incredibly clear. Without them, that basket ride down was marked by violent pendulum swings from side to side. But Garnerin worked very hard to perfect his new tech. Over the rest of his life, he managed to perform another 200 jumps. And just 2 years after his pioneering first one, his wife, Jean Genevieve, became the first woman to make a parachute jump. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with historical context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. One of the most storied group of parachute users is based out of our local military base, Fort Campbell. The 101st Airborne Division made an indelible mark on U.S. history as part of the advance team for the D-Day invasion. And perhaps you know the rest of that story of the so-called Band of Brothers, a pivotal group in the long push from Normandy to Germany, eventually taking control of Hitler's Eagle's Nest retreat, Berchtesgaden. By parachuting in, they could be on the ground quickly, surprising the enemy, establishing that initial presence at the front line before pushing in further on foot or by using more traditional transportation. But I do need to clarify something. The division has changed focus through the years. They are still the 101st. They're still the Screaming Eagles, a nickname derived from their insignia. But now the focus is not on paratrooper infantry. They've evolved to become all about something the Army calls air assault. They use a variety of aircraft, but especially helicopters, and they do a variety of things with those aircraft. They have multiple ways of using them to get troops out into the field, much like their predecessors. But now that can include something like rappelling to the ground from a helicopter that's hovering in place. They're using that aircraft to get resources into place, and they perform medical evacuations as well. The traditional image of a member of the 101st is a soldier in a complicated harness and helmet, ready to jump behind enemy lines, but they're also using robotics and drones and all kinds of tools. And they can't operate without having members who are mechanics and drivers and all sorts of support personnel, which helps make sense of some of the details of the latest sad news to come out of the 101st, which is that they lost a member. This weekend, Sergeant Terrell Seals died as the result of a training accident in Germany. He was one of those support guys, a motor transport operator on the 2nd Mobile Brigade Combat Team. He made sure things got into place on the ground, and he died on the ground in a vehicle accident. Sergeant Seals was from New Jersey. Fort Campbell was his third assignment, and this deployment was his second time being sent overseas. He was 34 years old. In just a few minutes, this week's edition of What Wear Wednesday, that's coming up after the newscast.
You've got a lot of things to keep track of. Work schedules, family activities, the ever-growing list of things you need to remember to do. Updating the credit card or banking information for your sustaining membership may have slipped your mind. With just 2 minutes of your time, you can update your payment information and check one more thing off your list. Peace of mind for you, funding for your public radio station. Go online to WPLN.org.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. Money has run out for Nashville's federal court amid the government shutdown. Cases will proceed as scheduled and new cases will be accepted, but staff will not get paid. Court-appointed public defenders haven't had a paycheck since July. Federal public defender Dumaka Shabazz tells the Tennessean the effects will be devastating to his office's morale, and he says it could endanger criminal defendants' Sixth Amendment right to an attorney. Still, he says his team is committed to providing quality legal defense for all. A federal judge has ruled that the Department of Defense must return books that were removed from 5 school libraries and reverse some curriculum changes. Hannah Saad with member station WKMS reports that includes an elementary school at Fort Campbell.
Earlier this year, 6 military families, including 2 from Fort Campbell, filed suit against the Department of Defense education activity. That came after the DoD ordered books and curriculum materials related to race and gender ideology to be removed in line with executive orders from President Donald Trump. In a social media video, ACLU of Kentucky legal director Corey Shapiro says the ruling helps better students' education.
They get to be able to learn the full history and all sorts of books that teach varying perspectives and varying ideas that reflect the full history of our country.
However, the ruling only applies to 5 DoDEA schools, including Barsanti Elementary at Fort Campbell. I'm Hannah Saad in Murray.
Every official property value in Rutherford County needs to be reconsidered. That's the suggestion of the state comptroller's office. After 2 years of accusations that the county's property assessor has not been doing his job properly, the state's top auditor, Jason Mumpower, made the unusual move of directly addressing the Rutherford County Commission last week. Mumpower said some structures weren't taxed at all. Meanwhile, the taxable value of other lots was determined using inaccurate measurements. Of the sample his office has made so far, roughly a quarter of the properties they reviewed were improperly assessed. The Daily News Journal reports one commissioner has asked the county attorney to look into the possibility of suing to remove assessor Rob Mitchell from office. After the meeting, Mitchell told News Channel 5 his office uses the same techniques as his peers in the state's largest cities, and then he doesn't think people have a reason to doubt this office's assessments. Some court hearings in Laverne are being postponed, and other city services still are offline following last week's cybersecurity incident. New municipal court dates will be sent by mail, or folks can call the court clerk. The online portal to pay water bills and property taxes is also down. Officials say they can take checks or money orders by mail or drop-off, but not cash or card payments. For now, there will be no late fees, and nobody's water will be shut off. The cybersecurity threat shut down some city systems last Friday, and the FBI and TBI are helping investigate. Conservative political commentator Riley Gaines is now a member of the Sumner County Library Board. She was added to the board on Monday evening to fill one of the 2 vacancies. Gaines is a Nashville native. She's also a former college athlete who advocates against including transgender women in women's sports. Ahead of Monday's board meeting, she took to social media to admonish the library board. She referenced a few books discussing gender identity and said, quote, "Remove this filth from our libraries." The board has previously voted on, but has yet to pass, a policy to remove books discussing transgender issues from the library's children's section. Fans of the Nashville Public Library's main branch downtown are still waiting to hear how soon it will reopen. 4 months ago, a fire damaged the building and destroyed a neighboring parking garage. At a meeting this week, the library's board of trustees said the building has to be brought up to code before reopening. WKRN reports a planning process involving architects and Metro departments is underway. But even when that's ready, some 6 weeks of work will remain. One board member observed that could point towards a 2026 reopening. Meanwhile, activities continue at the 19 other library branches around town. Well, we're coming up on 1 year since Nashville voters approved a new tax to fund transit. Voters said yes to a $3 billion plan funded by that tax and federal dollars. It will be carried out over the next 15 years and features things like new sidewalks and improved bus service. But one thing it doesn't include is light rail. Sabrina Sussman, who's in charge of implementing the transit plan, explained on This Is Nashville why Metro has started with the, quote, basics.
Every single light rail trip starts with a walk. You can't get on light rail if you don't have a sidewalk there. So the way that I sort of think about Choose How You Move is it's a little bit of you got to crawl before you can run. And as I talk about it, it's a little bit back to basics. And so I couldn't agree with you more that highly dense, populated urban cities need good ways to move lots of people. But mass transit does not just mean light rail, right? Mass transit also means a frequent, reliable, and safe bus network.
Back in 2015, Metro leaders actually did put light rail up for a public vote, but Nashvillians rejected that plan. So last year's proposal, put forth by Mayor Freddie O'Connell, opted not to include light rail and instead focused on a built-out bus service. The days of easy-to-find free parking around Nashville's Music Row may be numbered. Metro officials are considering changing some 200 spots in the area from free to paid, potentially at a rate of $1 an hour. News Channel 5 reports that at a Traffic and Parking Commission meeting this week, some folks voiced dismay at the proposal. They say it could make life harder for struggling session musicians who work in the area. But others argue the free parking makes it common for students, construction workers, and out-of-towners to hog spots all day. For now, Metro officials expect to revisit the issue in a future meeting. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. Is Music City also a visual arts city? Marquise talked to someone who says absolutely yes.
I'm Marquise Munson here with another edition of Nashville Public Radio's What Where Wednesday, keeping you up to date with the happenings in Nashville this week. Thursday night, WNXP Trivia is back at the Blue Room, and on Friday night, Lupe Fiasco performs at Skydeck on Broadway. Also on Friday, headliners featuring Two Live Bree, Deja McBride, and Tim Gent is at Eastside Bowl. Will Be album release show at the Blue Room, and Be Your Own Pet begin their 2-night residency at Soft Junk. Back at the Blue Room for another album release show on Saturday with Henry J. Starr and King Princess performing at Marathon Music Works. For more events, head over to WNXP.org/events. This week for What Where Wednesday, we feature We Fest happening this Saturday, honoring the sculptor William Edmondson. He was the first African-American artist to have a solo show at the Museum of Modern Art in 1937. He was a self-taught limestone sculptor who carved tombstones and garden ornaments at his workshop, which sat outside of his house in Edgehill. Although he had no intentions of being a career artist, he became a trailblazer. For the last 20 years, the site where he had worked and lived has been used as a community park in South Nashville's Edgehill neighborhood. William Edmondson's home site Park and Gardens formed in 2018 when the city tried to sell the property, and their mission is to foster a creative, vibrant, and safe public space for all of Nashville to enjoy. This is their 4th annual We Fest, highlighting the importance of William Edmondson and his work.
I'm Brenda Morrow. I am the president of the William Edmondson Homesite Park and Garden. I also serve as the president of the Edgehill Apartments Resident Association. So when I heard that they were planning on selling the school, Merle School, which sits right next to where William Edmondson's house was, I said, no, this is not going to work. And so immediately we got to getting signatures. We collected over 2,000 signatures. We went to budget and finance hearing. We went to planning meetings, council meetings. For us, the festival brings to light his life, what he did and what he meant to the community. And most of all is something that the young people can look up to. They can be proud of the fact that a world-renowned artist lived right there, and the fact that these children never knew anything about William Edmondson, but now they can walk through that park. They can see tree tags on the trees. We have what we call a Heroes Arboretum, and his tag is on the 2 oak trees that he planted, and no one should try to sell it. That's nothing compared to the importance of the history and the legacy that he has left.
I'm Mark Schlicker. I'm the vice president of the Friends of the William Edmondson Homesite Park and Gardens. The festival is an invitation to the whole city and beyond to learn about William Edmondson. He's considered to be the most important self-taught sculptor of the 20th century by art historians, and yet in his own backyard and across town, he was little known. We started the festival to do a couple of things. One is to highlight his legacy and have it serve to inspire, but also to provide a platform for underserved artists. We have an outreach to Black artists specifically, but not exclusively. So you're going to come to the festival. You'll see visual artists and performing artists. So Maya Turner, Maya Papaya Art 82, she bills herself as. She's getting very well known in the area, but her first art festival was 4 years ago at WeFest. She's coming back. Wilson Lee, the wood carver. We have Desmond Lewis, who teaches at Fisk, who is a sculptor. He is bringing a demonstration of aluminum casting, which is very popular, and we're going to enjoy that again. As far as performing artists, we have Herschel Bailey and Carlos DeFord Bailey, who have connections to Edge Hill through their grandfather, the famous harmonica artist of the Grand Ole Opry, DeFord Bailey. Then we have Africa Nashville coming back. We also have Ping Roses coming back, the blues guitarist, and we have some new artists, Israel and Shiloh Walker, who we just met recently, who are two young people, a brother and sister, who do spoken word piece called The People versus the Machine, a youth trial for the truth. It's a beautiful piece, and we're really excited about them. B. King, who does conscious hip-hop, is going to be there, and many more. Nashville's known as Music City. It's a city that sings, but it's also a city that carves, it paints, it builds, it sculpts, and we want to bring the people and the artists together in celebration and inspiration, and William Edmondson is the perfect vehicle to do that because his appeal is universal.
For more information about WeFest and other events happening this week, visit WNXP.org. My name is Marquise Munson, and thank you for listening to another edition of What Were Wednesday.
I foresee a place and time, monumental like they making dimes, like Wilhelmina. I foresee like it's Mason Mines on the MIC, like I be making mines. All it take is spine, like a snake design, just to take your time.
Thanks for listening to the Nash Villager podcast. We take this look at Nashville news every weekday. If you like it, go ahead and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and tell a friend or give us a mention on your socials. It really helps get the word out. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can become a member at WPLN.org. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one. And we'll catch back up tomorrow.